It's been a really long time since I've seen a Pixar movie that felt like a Pixar movie.
What do you mean by that? Because that could mean different things to different people.
Well, I just think, like, I look back through the ones we've talked about. Like, I think we did Inside Out. Inside Out, I was like, yeah, Inside Out feels like a Pixar movie. We did Onward, which didn't work for me. I was like, this does not feel like Pixar. We did Luca, which felt maybe kind of a little bit, but they just didn't have that, like...
Right.
I don't know. I was like, you could tell me that this was Illumination or this was DreamWorks or this was whatever, and I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Sure, maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long, long time. Since, like, you know, since like the Platinum stuff, right? Where you've got like a gimmick, a Pixar gimmick. So they're toys. They're fish.
They're superheroes.
They're super... Yeah. I don't
you don't
put
like
Incredibles in the Platinum
so maybe,
category.
Yeah, you don't like Incredibles, so maybe that example doesn't resonate to you. But I get what you're saying.
They're bugs. They're monsters.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And honestly, you know, and I crap on it a lot, but at least for the first one, they're cars. You know, and so it's just been like, you know, so then you have something like Onward and you're like, okay, well, like, yeah, they're mythical beings, but like, I don't know, they're all very humanoid, right? WALL-E's a good one because it's like he's a robot. And the worst parts of WALL-E are when the people show up and we're dealing with all that. Like the moments of WALL-E that are like, oh, this is solid, are when it's just him and Eva. Or Eva?
Yeah.
The little white one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it's just it. I've been missing the gimmick. I've been missing this really feels solely like they're exploring something otherworldly. Right? So like Inside Out worked because it's like, oh, well, they're emotions. Soul kind of worked. Soul had a healthy balance, I think, between taking me somewhere impossible and you know, and showing us a real world reality thing. But nothing does it the way Toy Story, Finding Nemo.
Yep.
You know, like those things just had it. Hello and welcome.
Welcome to the Movie Men podcast.
Yeah.
I'm Peter, and that is Brady.
Mm-hmm.
And we are doing a new release. The listener can obviously tell because they clicked on the title and would know that Turning Red is a new release, but I'm just saying it for the sake of saying it. We are doing a new release, and it is a Pixar film.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
All right. And until next time.
Until next time. Oh, yeah. I don't know what to talk about. There, you know, I don't. How should we break this down? There's a lot of angles of. There's a lot of things that are big about this film, but there's also things that are specific to us because we are Canadian. We are.
So I think that's
lovers.
I think that's the road to take. I think the fact that I myself live in the Greater Toronto area.
Yes. Yeah.
So this essentially took place in my city, which a lot of people, you know, everyone lives in New York. They're like, oh, big deal.
Right.
The Avengers takes place here. And it's like, okay, well, you know, can you imagine? Like, I know you live in New York and everything takes place in New York or Los Angeles or wherever. But like, Can you imagine if a large portion of the MCU took place in your home city with like, locations you go to and recognize?
Right.
Gosh. For us Canadians, Toronto has never been the backdrop to a Pixar film. It's never been the backdrop to a popular animated film.
No.
It's not really the backdrop to many popular films in general. A lot of stuff is shot here. Suicide Squad was shot here.
Yep. A lot of stuff is shot In
Yeah.
Canada, that is, not necessarily taking place in Canada.
Yeah. Ghostbusters was shot in
Right.
the prairies.
Yeah.
The television show Supernatural is all shot. Actually, most of the Arrowverse, like Arrow and all of those shows,
Okay.
are shot here in British Columbia. Vancouver, British Columbia has
Yes.
a really big
Yeah.
film
Industry.
stuff.
Yep.
So, anyways, this took place in Toronto. It was very close to home, and that was fun. In premise, I have big issues with the execution.
Interesting.
Big issues. Do you want? Should we just do that? Should you want to just
Initial impression.
talk about why I don't like this movie very much?
Well, yeah.
I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't dislike Turning Red,
Sure.
but it fell short of what I was hoping it was going to be.
Okay.
That is my first impression.
Sure. I think I would mirror that. I think I was anticipating it because it's a Pixar film, so that gets a lot of people's attention on their radar. I was excited about the concept of having a female coming of age story, being given a mainstream stage. I'm all for that. I love the aspect of something taking place in the early 2000s, kind of fun, nostalgic elements, and setting up in Toronto as a home base for the film. All these things are very cool things, but at the end of the film, when the credits are rolling, I just kind of went, that's not exactly what I wanted it to be or how I wanted to feel after that. So I am interested to break some of this down with you. I think we might be in the same camp here.
All right. I like the idea. I like the execution. I like the music. I like the casting. I like the emotion, the relationships, the all of it. All of it. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is a fun, enjoyable movie. Set in Canada, made by Americans. Because there are so many things that just felt like there's moments where, so like, you know, she talks about her TTC or her Toronto Transit Commission card. And it's like, oh, that's fun. And like, oh, you've done your research because those red seats are like, you know, if you've ridden the subway in Toronto, that's what it all looks like. Like you guys have nailed it. But we don't call each other. We don't call each other hosers. The hood emblem on all of our cars, like the brand emblem on all of our cars, aren't maple leaves. Like it constantly felt like someone who wasn't, I'm surprised there wasn't like a maple syrup, poutine, hockey, polar bear, right? Like she goes to bed wearing a white t-shirt with a big Canada maple leaf on it.
Right.
Every 5 minutes, there's a shot of the skyline so that we can see, CN Tower, look. And it just, I don't know, it was like, aside from the climax of this film taking place inside the Sky Dome, which was interesting because it hasn't been called the Sky Dome in years.
Right.
It's the Rogers Center, but obviously that was just like branding and copyright and stuff like that. So they went with the OG name for it, the Sky Dome. So I thought that was cool. Because a lot of us still call it that anyways.
Oh, yeah.
But aside from that being the climax, like the setting of the climax of the film, the fact that it took place in Toronto held zero bearing. Zero bearing. And I would have just liked to have seen, like, there's some stuff where it feels like they did a lot of research and they really understood these little tiny details. There were a lot of things about it that really felt like Toronto. And then there's a lot of things about it, like I said, like her calling the other kids a hoser, or the hood emblem of the car being a maple leaf, or her going to bed with the maple leaf shirt
sweater,
on.
yeah.
It was like, I don't know. It just felt very disjointed and very ignorant to, like, it felt like a caricature of Canada and a caricature of Toronto, right? Listen, like, here's the thing. If this film had taken place in Winnipeg and I were bitching and moaning about, it doesn't feel right. Well, sure, it doesn't feel like the Canada that I know, but Canada is a very big, wide, multicultural, blah, blah, blah. Right? Canada on the East Coast versus Canada on the West Coast. It's just like the States. New York versus Montana. It's literally what I was. Very different versus Texas versus North Carolina. Like, these are all Mississippi, Nevada. It's all very different places with different people. But this is Toronto. I live in Toronto. It's Ontario. I've lived in Ontario my whole life. I can count on one hand the number of times I've left Ontario.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. And I would have liked to have seen the two things that I think. One is the hood emblem of the car thing almost came across as not racist. What am I, like a cultural generalization? Like, if because Canada's associated with the maple leaf, not
right.
just because it's on our flag. I think that's like, there's Toronto, so they're doing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're doing our maple syrup, and they're doing, it's just like Toronto or Canada maple leaf. And so, but if it was like, if this movie had taken place in China and everyone's car, Pixar had made this movie, it took place in China, and everyone's car had an emblem of a bowl of rice, that would be insensitive. Right? Like, people would go, oh, geez, that's in poor taste. And so it just kind of felt like, like, I get that you're not going to show Ford, and you're not going to show, look, we have the same brands as everyone else. You're not going to show all of this stuff because you can't, because it's like all the, you got to pay to use these logos. But do something other than a maple leaf. Do something other than because it's just, it just makes it feel like Americans going like, oh yeah, up there in Canada where there's, oh, that's a Canadian accent. Americans going, yee-hoo, up there in Canada where everybody's got a maple, a Canadian car brand. No, it's the same. We drive the same effing trucks that you drive. So I don't know. That just felt like, why a maple leaf? Right? It do something more. So I don't know. And then the fact that it happened at the Sky Dome at the end just felt lazy, because you've shown us the CN Tower, you've shown us the Sky Dome, you've shown us the CN Tower, you've shown us the Sky Dome.
Right.
Like, I understand that that's where the concert's happening, but there's other places that concerts can happen. There's other things. And I was thinking about it afterwards. I was like, well, what would I have wanted to see? What could you have put in this film that would have felt very Toronto, but wouldn't have felt stereotypical Toronto? Wouldn't have felt like, oh, it's the CN Tower there, right? Wouldn't have felt like, the movie takes place in Paris. Okay, well, let's get working on our Eiffel Tower. It's taking place in London. Okay, well, Buckingham Palace, Big Ben, and the Eye of London. Right? And I think what I landed on, but what I think what I landed on was make the climax of this film, or make what the venue that they're trying to get to Canada's Wonderland. Very well-known Canadian amusement park.
Sure.
With record-breaking rides like Leviathan and stuff like that. Those aren't just like big deal rides for us. Those hold some records. And that would have felt like you could have had the mountain, you could have had, a couple of recognizable rides. You could have had Drop Zone, and that would have been like, okay, like what they did some digging. They're showing us this stuff, right? Or like something on the Toronto Islands.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah, that's true.
Toronto Islands, and you would have been like, oh, okay, well they've done a little bit of, or at the Canadian exhibition, or the Toronto Indie, or like just something that was less lazy. Someone's like, okay, we're gonna make it in Toronto. What plot? What set piece do we use? What location? Well, there only is one location in Toronto there, eh? You gotta go with the CN Tower. Like, I don't know, it just felt lazy in its approach to make it feel like Toronto, which is a shame because it's a Toronto director. A Toronto-born director.
Yeah.
And that's why this location was chosen, and it just feels like, have some home pride, man. Like, actually, I think it was a woman that directed it, but my point is the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a woman. Actually, this is the second time a Pixar film has been directed by a woman.
What was it first?
Brave.
Oh,
Brave.
See, and not a lot of people like Brave. I haven't seen Brave, and it's on my short list.
Yeah, it doesn't, I don't think it's in the platinum level, but I think it's a lot better than some Pixar films. That's for sure.
Cool.
I'm glad to hear what you're saying about this, because I think you're on to something for me. I don't think I'm as upset or like as disappointed as you are in this context. I think you hit on some stuff, though. I think, you see the CN Tower at first, you go, ooh, that's kind of fun. Ooh, you see Skydome. Ooh, that's kind of fun, kind of retro. You see some things like Daisy Mart, so things that like people in Ontario
Daisy Mart was cool.
Would recognize and be like, oh, that's kind of fun. So there's some elements, but it does become repetitive, and it does seem to fall a bit short as far as, okay, let's not wear this out too thin. I remember watching a documentary on the Bourne trilogy and the director at the time, of when those movies were coming out. And I thought that their techniques for those types of films kind of captured what I maybe would have wanted for this, where, when Jason Bourne's in Paris, you might see the Eiffel Tower as like a little tiny, tiny piece of the landscape, but where the event is happening at the moment is somewhere, a different kind of setting that is famous, but more off the beaten path. And I feel like kind of that type of expenditure, or that kind of attempt, would have been a little bit better. Saying, okay, yeah, Skydome, we get it. CN Tower, we get it, but we don't need to see it every 30 seconds. And I would love to see something else. So I mean, like, where's Casa Loma? Where's the Royal Ontario Museum, the ROM? Where's the Ontario Science Centre? Where's the Toronto Zoo? Like, there's just different things that it's like, okay, you're right, we've been there, we've done that. Let's do something visually different that's kind of fun and kind of vibrant to the city. So
they felt like one-trick ponies.
One-trick ponies. And you know what? Maybe it just needed to be more things along the aspect of Daisy Mart for me. Maybe we didn't need to be all landscapes or all iconic landmarks, but just little things to give it a bit more cultural relevance. So viewers from other places might say, hey, that's fine, it doesn't influence the plot, but at least some of the audience might go, oh, I can relate to this, I can relate to that.
Right,
so,
like do stuff that doesn't, because I understand, like, Daisy Mart, you had to pay to use Daisy Mart. I get that.
Sure. Yes.
And I get that, you do a shot of a street,
yeah.
And if there's 100 brands on that street, then you need to pay 100 brands in order to use it.
Sure.
And other Pixar movies, like, we sound entitled right now because when a Pixar movie happens somewhere in the States, it's not like they're paying to put McDonald's and all these other places in there, right? So the fact that, like, as far as locations go, we even got Daisy Mart, but do some stuff that wouldn't cost you anything. Some stuff that isn't like a brand, like show us, give me bagged milk.
Sure. Yep.
Give me ketchup flavored chips. Give me something that, and why would you go with Daisy? And maybe it's just because nobody cares about Daisy Mart, and Daisy Mart's so cheap. Why, for the love of, and maybe again, maybe the answer is like it was just way too expensive, but you're Pixar. Why would you not put some kind of reference to Tim Hortons in your movie?
Right. Yeah.
Like, it does not get any more Canadian than Tim Hortons, you know, from an iconic whatever. Stereotypical, you know, you leaned into some of these other stereotypes, but the biggest of them all, the Mac Daddy, the one that would have gone, holy cow, I can't believe, you know, her mom's holding a double and a box of Timbits. Like,
Huh. Now I'm a
What
little
a
bit
missed
more
opportunity.
disappointed. I'm very disappointed because of that.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, okay, now I'm fired up. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I feel like it did kind of just have a few stepping stones in place, but really could have threaded them together better with some more filler, some more fun things in there. So, yeah, a little bit disappointing.
Yeah. What do
Can
you
I-
like about it?
Well, I'm going to say something I didn't like.
Okay, yeah.
And this
Those
is
are my
gonna
favorite.
I liked the coming of age element of this. I liked the coming of age for the young female. I really liked, because I don't know, I guess maybe this isn't my forte in film, so I could be wrong. But like just the fact that this was given kind of mainstream attention, I'm like, hey, I'm all for it. Something about it got a little hokey for me with all the panda bits. And listen, I get it. Like, it seems contradictory to say that's a problem because the whole film turning red, all the whole panda element, the whole having that being part of their lineage, and like, I'm not trying to say this is a problem for me and then really break down the fabric of the whole film. I'm just saying what I just didn't like, and I liked all the funny moments when it was just kind of the characters and our main character just in her human form. But for me, just throughout the film, a lot of the times when she became this panda, something about it, I don't know, it just got a little slapstick, you know, like, oh, I'm sitting on the bed and it's falling apart, or I'm like, running down the hall and someone's singing, like, just something about it. I was like, okay, this is kind of funny at first, or kind of amusing, but I was like, okay, maybe I'm just not here for this, and I was more into like I would have been okay if it had just been this Pixar element of just this family and not this hokiness, corniness. So something about the actual panda bit for me, I just got a little lost at. And yeah, there's a bit of disconnect for me. I liked the coming of age element, and I would have been fine with the whole film just about that. And I know that breaks down the whole metaphor of what we're seeing and going on, and you know, I don't want to pull on the thread too much and take apart the whole blanket, but yeah, I just didn't enjoy it, that element.
Yeah, it also lacked, for me, it lacked the explanation that I needed. Like I get, you know, okay, we get the little backstory and stuff like that, but then it's like, it feels like once they set up that kind of world, then they have no issue just like throwing whatever at us, and it doesn't really matter if it, like, why is our best defense against her mom's panda Godzilla? Like, why is that so big? Like, what the hell is that? And how does that work? And at the end, I was just like, you know, I thought the panda stuff was kind of cool. I did not like that the whole family turns into pandas at the end. I'm like, okay, now this is panda saturation.
Right.
But yeah. I also found her group of friends a little one-dimensional.
Huh. Really?
Yeah, like each one had it. Just in that, like, each one had a gimmick,
Okay.
and it was just like throughout the movie they just kept like they had like a little gimmick, a little keypad with different gimmick buttons on it, and they just kept pushing the gimmick buttons. Just like, okay, mix it up, come on. What do we? Okay, now we're gonna have this, and like there was not really any depth to any of their characters. They were they each represented a gimmick.
Yeah, but playing devil's advocate, and I'm not arguing with you, like, as you say that, I'm like, yeah, that's true. But for better or worse, I mean, you can't... I think the complexity comes from our main character, and if I don't know if you can delve too much into these characters and give them too much life without detracting from the screen time or the attention that we give to our main character. That's the devil's advocate answer to what you're saying. I'm not sure.
I think there's a balance. I just don't think they hit it.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying like I need these fully fleshed out supporting characters. No.
Yep.
But give me something more than what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get too big picture here with Pixar, but I did both pundits, like professionals, like people who get paid to talk about movies, and also just people that are in our social circles talked highly about this film. And disappointed is a heavy word, but I wasn't as blown away as I was hoping I would be. And I take a step back and I just look at Pixar and I look at their whole film list and I go, what have you done for me lately, Pixar? I mean, there's been okay movies.
Yeah.
There's been fine movies. And
what have you done since Toy Story 3?
Yeah, there's been a lot of peaks and valleys, mostly valleys. I've been okay with Incredibles 2. I know that won't resonate with you as much. Was okay with that. But since Toy Story 3, you're right. It's been pretty hit and miss. And I guess just when the credits rolled for this, that's how I felt for this. And I think unlike some of these other films that you alluded to at the beginning that I thought were just kind of bad films or, I think this, if you write down all these things that we could have liked about this film, there should be more magic here, and it just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I am disappointed because I am excited. I'm excited for what this meant for just the amount of female empowerment that this film kind of represented, just like through creative teams of just like, female director, a lot of female producers, a lot of female creative workers. So it's just like a fun, prideful moment for that. It's fun, prideful moment for just having something set in Canada. So there's all these very cool things that, it's not all woe and sorrow, but I can't place my finger on why I just felt very meh when I walked out of this theater.
It makes me very curious to see where we're going to end up this summer with Lightyear.
See, that's more of a charged answer, right? Because that's not just, hey, and that's obviously the reason you're bringing this up in conversation. It's not just, hey, here's the next chapter in Pixar and let's see if something sticks to the wall. That is source
reimagining
material.
Of some source material.
That is the reimagining of like the gold standard that started it all.
Yeah.
Right? Like that has some very, very significant connections.
Yeah.
Very significant.
I think Pixar has started to become too much a studio that makes... They started to become a studio that made stories about people. And as opposed to objects.
Right.
Or like it became these people stories. And then now I'm like... And I think it's Pixar, and then it's kind of like Disney as a whole right now, is they're trying to be, and not that there's anything wrong with this, but if you look back at the Pixar films that are incredible, that are game changers, that we think of as those iconic Pixar films, they don't fall into this category, which is the category of the culturally highlighting movie studio. So this obviously had very much a lot of Chinese Asian culture in it. Luca was set in Italy. It was a very Italian film. Coco is a very Mexican Day of the Dead festival film. It's not a Pixar movie, but Encanto, right? Again, it's like the hacienda and it's a Latin European Spain kind of film. And it's just like, like at what point, next what? There's going to be one set in Australia and it'll be all about, dingoes and all this. And you're like, okay, well, great. But give me a Pixar movie. And I don't know, like I don't work at Pixar. I don't have the answers, and like, I don't know where you go. You did fish, you did toys, you did cars, you did bugs. Maybe birds, maybe, or give me like another type of animal. Give me, what it's like to be. Give me what it's like to be a raccoon. Give me a raccoon movie, and they're all actually raccoons, and it takes place in the raccoon world. And don't ever give me the perspective like in Toy Story. There's people in there, but it's always from the perspective of the toys.
Right.
We're always looking up at those people. Those people are always larger than life, always. And it's shrunk into that smaller world that gives it its magic.
I think what the question boils down to is it that they've run out of material to explore inanimate objects that created a magical element for us, or is it that the avenues that they've chosen they haven't explored in a well enough way? Because you mentioned before, maybe the problem with some Pixar films is when they stray away from these inanimate objects and focus on the humans. With this current story of Turning Red, I was not a fan of the whole panda element, and I preferred it in this circumstance of being the human. So maybe that's just an example of they didn't properly use that technique. I don't know. I guess it's just a question of, have they run out of source material, or have they lost their magic touch with their source material of what they did and what they do?
Yeah, and I mean, I too enjoyed that part, but and preferred that part. But did it make a difference that it was a Pixar film in those moments?
Right.
Or could that have been any other animation studio?
Okay, but let me answer your question with a question. Would we have given this film a better review or a better score or better vibes if it had just been an animated film? Like, are we critiquing it too much because it's Pixar? Is it still a solid film, but we're kind of demeaning it because it's Pixar, and we're holding it to an unattainable standards that it just can't reach? You know what I mean? Like, maybe we're going too hard on it.
Yes, but I don't think that that's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
When a studio gives you 10 years, 15 years,
right,
of platinum after platinum after platinum thing, right? It's like all we're doing is asking them to live up to themselves.
Right.
Not to like some, like, oh, this is what someone else is doing, why can't you do that? No, you set the standard. Not only for yourselves and what we're expecting from you, but you set the standards for animation. And what you can do, the story that you can tell, the emotion you can evoke, the imagination that you can capture, the exploration you can go on with an animated film. Even Up had the gimmick of the floating house.
Yeah.
Even though it was people-centric, I guess it just, a Pixar film, Pixar films are always going to have emotion, they're always going to have humor, they're always going to have beautiful visuals. But really, a Pixar film is only as good as its gimmick. At the end of the day, a Pixar film is only as good as its gimmick.
Yeah.
And the more you exploit that gimmick, the harder you have to work in order to win me over, i.e. Toy Story 4. Right? It was your fourth outing with that gimmick, and you didn't bring it. For me.
Yeah.
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 It wasn't good enough anymore. And so so Luca, they're like sea creatures. And I don't know, this felt like, okay, so what am I watching? I'm watching a film with some cultural influence because it's set in another part of the world about a kid who has a struggle because sometimes they're not a kid. Am I talking about Luca or am I talking about Turning Red?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, okay, so this is just you just gave me the same thing in a different wrapper. And you're like, here you go. Whereas Toy Story and Finding Nemo, there might be similarities, but they're not the same movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same premise, not the same. They feel very different. WALL-E, very different. Monsters, Inc., very different. And then in the last year, you've given me Luca and Turning Red? What? I don't know. And then we had that where I was like, I get that they're different, but there's something very inside-outy about Soul at times. Right? This little thing that's inside of you. Okay, well, it's your soul, it's not your emotions, but it's still like a representation of who you are on the inside. And we've animated that and given it some persona. You've done that. We already did that. And the reason you're doing this, the reason why you're giving me Soul is because you're drawing attention to jazz music and black culture and all of this stuff, and that's awesome. Hats off to you. But are you doing it because it's good storytelling, or are you doing it because you have a political angle? Because if it's a political angle, then you are not living up to your job as a storyteller. Serve the story. Don't serve a political agenda. If you're serving a political agenda, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. And I wouldn't think that was the case, except for every Pixar film that comes out now has that. Features another part of the world or another place's culture, right? Really focuses on that. Incredibles 2, that was, not that there's anything wrong with it, but that was Pixar saying, we support feminism. We support the sacrificing story. There was so much stuff. Well, show us more. Like, you set up this villain at the end of the first one, and you kill him off. You get rid of him in the first 5 minutes of the second one because you've decided that this story is about woman power. Again, fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm on board 100%. But when I reach the point that I feel like you're hitting me over the head with it, when it's not an element of your movie, but it's the point of your movie is woman power, in a film that's not about feminism, not about a feminist movement, it's a superhero movie about a family of superheroes. I don't know. And so I think that's where Pixar is starting to go wrong. There's no political agenda in Toy Story.
Right.
They're not trying to show me another part of the world. They're not trying to, and yeah, so, okay, Toy Story takes place in North America. Finding Nemo doesn't. Finding Nemo takes place in Australia, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Australia's not the point. Whereas Luca, it was like, well, Italy is a big part of this. Italy's kind of the point. And so I don't know. I just like, and again, I'm not, it couldn't easily sound like I'm like, I only want my Pixar films to take place here. I don't give a shit. I don't care where they take place. It makes no difference to me. but it can't be your gimmick, right? And it can't take away from your gimmick. You can't give me, and that was the thing, is before, like a movie like Toy Story, it makes no difference where that movie takes place, no difference, because the gimmick is so strong. Doesn't matter where Finding Nemo takes place because the gimmick is so strong. When they go through the doors in Monsters, Inc., it doesn't matter what part of the world they go through the doors into. It makes no difference because the gimmick of that movie is so strong. Every car in Cars could have been a British car with English accents, and it wouldn't make a difference because it's a strong gimmick. But a boy who turns into a fish sometimes, or a sea monster that's turned into a boy, okay, you've got the bare bones of something great there, but when you feel the need to make a big deal of the fact that you're setting it in Italy, well, now the vibe that I'm walking away from this film with is that, this is a film about Italian culture as much as it's a film about the gimmick you're giving me. And I don't want that. So much so that you just gave me, and this works in the fact that I'm not like hating on other people's culture. You just gave me a film that takes place in my city, and I didn't like it.
Right.
I felt like, it's not a bad movie, but it's not the name that you built for yourself, Pixar. What was your gimmick? And in this case, your gimmick was weak. Could have been strong. There was something to work with there. But you focused too much on Canada. You did it poorly. And then made it too much about, I don't know.
I think there's a bigger picture issue here that we could actually discuss, and I think we have discussed about sometime doing a bigger ranking of the overall.
We need to do a Pixar episode.
We need to do a Pixar episode, and I think some of that we would have to kind of give some kind of light of day to what's gone well and what hasn't gone well. And I think you're maybe hitting on some points of, if you can nail it down to just kind of one thing that's hit or miss, it's that kind of element. And I think you've hit on that. I think there are some, now that you point to Luca, I think there's some similarities to kind of like, here's a template. This seems to kind of fit what we want to do. Let's just rinse, cycle, repeat. It's just a lot of similarities there.
I would love to see a Pixar film about shoemaking elves. From like the Elves and the Shoemaker, these elves that come out and they make, or elves that live in trees and bake cookies and whatever. And yeah, you can have people in them, but it's always, but use them sparsely and always from the viewpoint of these elves that are coming out at night to make shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, scale of 0 to 10, sir. How do you feel about Turning Red?
I gave it a 6. I mean, it's very much in the mixed category. There's the times where the mother brings her to the convenience store and she's embarrassed, or she's under her bed drawing her emotions, and I thought, this is magic here, and then it just dropped the ball, and it didn't continue that emotional intensity for me. So it was a 6. I was generous, maybe more than I should have, but a 6 out of 10. How about you?
I gave it a 6.5.
Okay.
Only because, and I have no issues giving it a 6. I was just like, but it's Pixar. And there are moments, like you said, there are moments.
There's moments. Yeah.
And it's a good story.
Yes.
It's not a bad movie, but it is a bad Pixar movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, and again, people are like, well, places can change, right? But if you've established yourself as a taco place, and then 15 years later you decide that you're going to take the 8 different tacos that you've had on your menu, and you're really well known for these 8 different tacos, and you're going to go down to one taco, and now you're mostly going to focus on burritos? No, I'm sorry. That's not your business. You set up and establish your business, and it's not like they made one film. It's not like I'm like, oh, that first Pixar film. No, you built a catalog of amazing films, and you did it in a very specific way, and you have failed to do it since for a very long time now. For I would say in the last 10 years, you have struggled to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to talk about. This is a bonus episode. This is a
bonus episode
of the week bonus new release. So there's nothing.
No,
nothing
what
was
we
watched.
watched. Just
No. We'll
That's
talk
it?
about that later this weekend when we review Twister. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Wrap it up, sir.
Thank you all for listening. Check out our socials below. Like, follow, subscribe. Check out our Patreon page. Please consider supporting us if you'd like to help the show grow, help the show pay bills, help to cover some costs. And until next time, thank you for listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was gross.
Do you have a tail now?
I wish.